That's right! Welcome to the side of the ring because it's time for Ringside. Got a bunch of news lined up for you, ladies and gentlemen, so without further ado, we're just gonna whack! Dave Meltzer said on Wrestling Observer Radio that Roman Reigns versus The Rock, quote, is still happening this year. He just doesn't know exactly when or where. If you're not going to do it at Elimination Chamber, don't bother doing it this year. If you are going to do, because I was literally saying this, I believe in the last episode, where if you have to wait, then there's no point in doing it. Because we've been waiting for the last 2 years for this match to take place, and it's been getting pushed back, and then it got pushed back again, and now it sounds like it's going to happen again, but if you don't know when or where, and Roman is not scheduled to be at Backlash, he already wasn't scheduled to be at Backlash. I can't remember if he wasn't scheduled to be at Elimination Chamber or there was speculation that he wasn't going to be at Elimination Chamber. I think that's the same source that I got that he wasn't going to be at Backlash. I understand why he's not going to be at Backlash because that means that Cody's going to win the title. But if he's not going to be at Elimination Chamber and he's not going to, and you've already got Cody Roman lined up for WrestleMania and apparently he's not going to be at Backlash because of, him winning or him losing to Cody at WrestleMania, unless you want him to lose at WrestleMania and then have him lose again at Backlash. That wouldn't really help, to be totally honest with you. That wouldn't really make a whole lot of sense. So if you're going to do it, I would rather you do it now, okay, than we wait all the way through Mania and then we wait all the way through Backlash and then you try and get it. You're trying to get it going on a different pay-per-view. If you do it at Crown Jewel, then, it can exist in a vacuum. You go to Saudi Arabia, the match would do absolute numbers. At that point, you don't really have to worry too much about, how Roman would look, because they want him to lose in front of it's The Rock, The Rock could wrestle a bale of hay, and they would eat it up, you know what I mean? So, if you're going to do that, then that's not really much of an issue. But again, I feel like if you're going to do this match, my opinion is that you do it sooner rather than later, and the soonest you can do it is Elimination Chamber. But if it's not in the cards, then the next best place to do it would have to be Saudi Arabia. So I don't know when they're going to do it, to be totally honest with you. But again, my best guess would be Elimination Chamber. Next, Fightful Select says, quote, WWE reached out to outside companies about potential Royal Rumble surprises. TNA is one that worked with them to make Jordan Grace's debut happen, and they were apparently very accommodating. I like that this has started to become the norm. Specifically for WWE. We'll stick with WWE specifically because, I talk about this all the time, but this is something that, wouldn't even, if we were still in the Vince McMahon regime, I feel like this is something that wouldn't necessarily happen, and it's a good indication that things are changing, and more companies are willing to collaborate and open up with each other and have existing wrestlers on other rosters debut and appear on other forms of media. Either way, the point is, okay, I like that this is happening, and I keep saying it, but it is a very big deal that this is something that wouldn't happen if Vince was still in charge. So, it bodes well for the future because this, I would assume, is not going to be the first, and it's not the first, and I know for a fact that it's not going to be the last time that something like this happens. And I don't think that the Royal Rumble is specifically where, stuff like this is going to happen. I think that we are going to see this in more instances and not just the Royal Rumble. I don't know where and I don't know how and I don't know when, but I am optimistic, and I would like to think that WWE and TNA and NJPW and other companies, out there in the wrestling landscape are not going to hesitate to collaborate with one another, and I can't wait for something like that to happen with not just TNA, but more wrestling promotions as a whole. Sticking with WWE, Pulse Wrestling brings word that Brock Lesnar was going to work with Dominic Mysterio at Elimination Chamber before he was removed due to being implicated in reporting on the lawsuit against Vince McMahon. The Daily Update at F4WOnline.com also notes that Lesnar was set to work Gunther at WrestleMania 40, and there, quote, were a number of changes made from Mania in the last few days. I have no idea how Dominic and Brock were going to work at Elimination Chamber. I don't even know how that was even going to be a thing. I'm kind of glad that we did not get that match at Elimination Chamber because I don't know what other outcome you expected other than Brock Lesnar snapping Dominic Mysterio in half. The only outcome that I want from that is Dominic wins via heel shenanigans. We already know that Brock Lesnar is going to kill him. We know that already. So having a match with Dominic Mysterio would be nothing more than just satiating the casual fans, because as an avid wrestling watcher, I do not need to see that. I don't know why I would need to see that. I don't know what I would need to see that for, unless Dom is like, oh, I challenge Lesnar to a match, and then Lesnar accepts. Fine, if that's the storyline, but I'm glad that we didn't get that. I assumed that we were going to get Lesnar Gunther at Mania, and unfortunately that's not going to happen. So now I'm curious as to what direction they're going to go in terms of maybe was Gunther Lesnar going to be for the title? Because if that's the case, there's no way Lesnar was going to win that. Lesnar's not even here now. You think he's going to win the title and then just automatically, be taped to the back of WWE? That doesn't make any sense. So hearing this now, knowing what I know now, we didn't need Lesnar, okay? We are doing just fine without him, and man, Elimination Chamber, Lesnar versus Dominic Mysterio. No, you didn't. No, you didn't. You did not need that match. No, you didn't. Okay? You could easily 100,000,000% have that be a main event on Raw or SmackDown or whatever. You could do that on a live show, and it would still mean the same exact thing. Gunther Lesnar, as much as I wanted to see that match happen, it's not happening. No big deal. You can slot somebody else in. It can be for the title because there's no way Gunther Lesnar was going to be for the title. Okay? It's fine. We can move on without him. There's not really much else to say because now they kind of have to rework the plans, and we're just going to have to wait and see who ends up taking Lesnar's place. Next, Bryan Alvarez mentioned on Wrestling Observer Radio that he was told Jade Cargil, quote, has a hard time remembering a lot of stuff in terms of her in-ring work. He thinks she needs to get onto the road and start working with veterans to get her experience sooner rather than later. I'm not going to sit here and pretend to know a single thing that goes on inside of the squared circle, okay? There are things that are going on in there that I have no idea about, and there are things that are going on there that I have a rough idea about, but even then, I don't have a full grasp of what is going on in there. I know for a fact it's not as simple as get in ring, pick her up, put her down. I know it's more complicated than that. I know that there's timings that you have to meet. I know that you have to deal with stuff that's going on in the ring, and you also have to remember where you're supposed to be, and you have to remember the spots, and you have to remember the commercial breaks. And I'm sure there are a litany of things that you have to constantly keep track of while you are wrestling, and you have to make sure that you do the moves properly, you have to run the ropes properly, climb the turn. I know that there are 1,000,001 different things. As much as I want to sit here and not make it seem like I'm perfectly fine with Jade Cargill being a bump on a log when she goes in the ring, I'm sure that she's sitting there and trying to be like, okay, there's a couple things that I'm like, I understand, but I don't remember everything. I want to put it past her to forget a couple things. She's a human being. Not everybody has a great memory when it comes to that sort of stuff. I'm terrible at math. There's people that are great at math. I agree with Alvarez. I feel like now would probably be the best time for her to go out there and to work with the veterans and to get better instead of not work. I mean, okay, that probably explains why she was in the Performance Center for so long. Because there were just things that she just, wasn't able to keep track of. Maybe it's just the way WWE has them wrestle, and maybe it's just not something that she's used to, I guess. I would argue that if you told, Braun Breaker to go out and work a New Japan match, maybe there'd be a couple things that he wouldn't understand, or maybe there'd be nuances to how New Japan wrestlers, work that maybe he's not aware of, So, I don't want to, completely write Cargil off, because she's a great wrestler. From what I saw her with her in AEW, I thought she did fine. There wasn't really anything that stuck out to me where I was like, oh, she could use a little bit of work. I mean, everyone could learn something new, so I don't think that there's anything, detrimental to her, overall ability that she needs to learn. But at the same time, you could always learn something new, and I'm sure a veteran could teach her something that could, carry her for the next, 10, 20 years. So, I mean, I don't really know what else to say, other than working with a veteran would be a good idea. I don't think that she's a bad wrestler overall, and, there's always something that she can learn. Moving right along, the Wrestling Observer newsletter notes they were told that the working idea right now is to keep SmackDown on Friday nights when it moves to USA. That's not locked in, however. I don't see what moving it would do. I don't see why you move it. I don't think you would have to. I don't think that is a super detrimental, crucial thing that, you need to put on a sticky note on a fridge, I don't know why I was under the impression that it was already on USA. It's not. It's on Fox. you know? And, yeah, I mean, I don't see why USA would think that it needs to be on a different day anyway. I feel like USA would probably be the first people to be like, yeah, you know, we get this whole wrestling thing. We know that it's on a specific day. We don't really see any reason to move it, and there would be no reason to move it in the first place, so we're just going to keep it on Friday. I would be curious if they did move it, though. I would wonder what day they would put it on. I'm trying to remember if there was, I think it was Tuesday, right? Tuesday was when SmackDown used to air. I don't fully remember. My brain is thinking Tuesday and Thursday. Either way, if they did move it, that actually would be pretty interesting. I would be interested to see how moving it on a different day would affect the numbers in any particular way. I don't 100% know, though. So, yeah, we're just going to have to wait and see if that actually does end up happening. Sticking with Wrestling Observer Newsletter, they say Alberto El Patron and, quote, another controversial wrestler looking to rehab their career are coming to AAA in 2024, and there will be a, quote, zero-tolerance agreement with both. Alberto is scheduled for the entire year, provided there are no issues. I don't think there's going to be issues. I don't think that he's going to be, you know, fooling around and, you know, mucking up this opportunity that he has. I feel so. Apparently, they're going on this like Origins tour. Apparently, that's the theme of 2024 with AAA, and that's why Alberto is, you know, I guess being chosen for this particular tour that they're going on. So that's good to know. And obviously, you know, they're putting him on the tour, which means that in some capacity he is, I guess, alluding to some type of, you know, implication that he's not going to cause any trouble. There's a zero tolerance policy, which means that the moment he does anything, they're going to kick him off. There's not really much to say because I don't think he's going to do anything. I don't think that, you know, he's going to mess this opportunity up. I would hope that he's going to be a good boy and he's not going to do anything that he's not supposed to do. I have no idea who the other controversial person is. I don't know who it would be. I don't know if they're, you know, a AAA, you know, regular. I don't know if they're someone, you know, who was with WWE. I don't 100% know. I tried looking it up. There's a bunch of names on there that I have absolutely no idea who they are, you know, so maybe one of them is the controversial figure. I'm not 100% sure. So, yeah, I'm confident that he's not. Well, I personally don't think he's going to, because I don't know why you would. I don't know why you would be given this particular opportunity and you would mess it up getting into an argument or something like that, and then you get immediately kicked off the tour. So I think it's going to be fine. What do we talk about? So the last thing wasn't enough to, like, you know, garner a completely separate, you know, thing to talk about. We could just lump it in here with this. Okay, grab my phone. Roman Reigns versus The Rock is still happening this year. Just doesn't know exactly where to wear. If it's not happening at Chamber, then I have absolutely no idea why it would happen any later than that, because it's not going to happen at Mania, and it's not going to happen at Backlash, because it's not going to be there. So I don't know why you would push it back that far. The only other thing I can think of is Saudi Arabia, and that's the only thing I can think of. Reach out to companies outside potential Royal Rumble surprises. I'm glad they work with TNA. I want them to work with TNA more. I want TNA to work with someone. I want WWE to work with someone besides TNA. I just want more collaboration, all right? I don't want globalization. I don't know why you even think that. Lesnar was going to work with Dominic Mysterio. I'm glad that he's not going to do that. They were going to do Lesnar Gunther at Mania. It's fine. If it was going to be for the title, I'm glad Lesnar was not working that match either, because I don't know what made you think that Lesnar was going to win that title, because he's not here. So, stupid of you to think that Lesnar was going to win that. Okay. Cargil has a hard time remembering a lot of stuff. There's a lot of things that go on in that ring. There's a lot of things that go on in that ring that I'm aware of and not aware of. If you threw me in the ring right now and told me to do a simple arm drag, I wouldn't be able to do it properly. So, all I'm saying is that I understand that Jade is having a hard time remembering things. I completely understand that. I also agree with Alvarez. She should go on the road, learn from the veterans, remember a couple things that they tell her, and, you know, do her best to incorporate it into, you know, the matches that she's going to have going forward. They were told the working idea now is to use SmackDown on Friday nights when it moves to USA. I don't see why they would change it unless there was like a sort of time slot conflict. Then sure, fine, move it to another day. Other than that, I don't really think it's going to make like a massive deal if they move it. Alberto El Patron and another controversial wrestler looking to rehab their career. I don't know who that other person is. Listen, however you feel about him, it would be stupid of him to mess up this opportunity. Why would he do that? It doesn't make any sense. You've got an opportunity to work with AAA the entire year. If I were you, I'd be a good boy and sit on your hands. And per Fightful, Samantha Irvin worked the entire Royal Rumble show because Mike Rome lost his voice. Sorry to hear that. She did a great job. Mike Rome's great. Hopefully his voice is doing better, and we're going to see him tonight on Raw at the time of this recording. Folks, that's going to do it for this episode. Hopefully everybody has a wonderful tonight and a wonderful tomorrow. And as always, big hugs. Big hugs all around.